So back looking at a little bit more audio, and this time over-ear headphones from OneOdio. They're called the Focus A6, and for €65, you're getting some fantastic features with these. So noise reduction, up to 48 decibels that it can reduce. That's blocking out about 98% of your background noises, and I can confirm that the ANC on these works really well. The real standout feature for me is LDAC support. So that high-end codec gives us a lot more detail, removes terrible compression, and if you use the SBC codec, you're going to get a runtime of 75 hours. If you turn the ANC on, that's 40 hours, and if you use LDAC and the ANC, over 20 hours, which is still absolutely fantastic for these to go for so long. Even on those long-haul flights, they're going to work without having to charge them. They do use Bluetooth 6. We've got a gaming mode and dual device connection with these. And the driver within, it's a 40mm dynamic driver.
So included with the Focus A6, you'll find a user manual here. We get a Type-C to Type-C cable. And the charge time, well, 10 minutes of charge is going to give us 10 hours of playtime with ANC off. Now, weight-wise, good. Because of the materials they have used, they come in at 244 grams, according to my scales here. And this is great. And you don't really notice that weight of them. And they're certainly a lot lighter than some other headphones that I've tested out. Now, the build is good. The plastics do not feel cheap that they have used. So there is quite a bit of plastics used. The part around here on the outside, this part right here, it's to keep the weight down, of course. The band at the top, that is made out of metal that we do have, and it picks up a few fingerprints and smudges and whatnot. And you'll see here that where we have the headrest part, nice soft padding on this. And even wearing these for a couple of hours, I didn't notice this pressing down on the top of my head causing any like pressure and fatigue. And the way that when you put them on your head too, that they sit over your head really well with these nice soft cups. They don't seem to be removable, however. I haven't really had a problem with them. They don't apply too much pressure. Like some headphones, I find that they feel like they're pressing right into your head too much. These do not. The only thing is, and it's obvious, and I have this with any style, even the most expensive models out there, is that with the over-ear style, you get some heat build-up, and especially now it's 40 degrees outside, that they are going to be hot in summer to wear these for long extended periods. I always find that I need to give my ears a break too and just let them breathe after an hour or so. But I have worn them for hours and I can confirm that they are good and comfortable. Left and right, as you can see, so you can easily distinguish which side you need to have when you put them on there. And then we get on to the port here. So Type-C port, we've got microphones. Now there are dual mics for our noise cancellation with voice calls. I'll give you a sample of that later on. Now you can use this wired too. So Bluetooth 6 support, LDAC support, and then our buttons are all physical push-in style. And I like the fact that what they've done here with the power button is there's a slight indentation to it, as you can see. And that means it's very easy to find it in the dark and know when you're powering it on and off. ANC, so when you cycle through the different ANC modes, you are going to hear that. Now, it's up to 48 decibels noise reduction, and you get the passive noise isolation with this style, having it, of course, over ear. And then that ANC seems to be working very well to block out the noises there. A lot better than in-ears because just of this design and just how powerful the ANC is. I found it has been very effective at blocking out ambient tracks of train station noise, aeroplane cabins, simulated, of course, just with recordings and me playing them very loud, and even a noisy train station and whatnot does a very, very good job of blocking those out. So all up, good build quality. I like the design. They are comfortable, and yes, you can turn them around like so you can lay them flat and have them inside a bag, and you can also, either side, you'll be able to push that in if you want, just to try and reduce the size further. So there we go. That is the smallest you can get it down to in size because you can fold it in like this. So that'd be good if you wanted to place that into a bag. It didn't come, unfortunately, with a little carry pouch like some other brands do add inside the box. So we've got drivers in these. They are custom dynamic drivers that are quite large. So they're 40mm, delivering excellent, strong, powerful bass. And I find the mids to also be great. Highs, personally, I think they could be a tiny bit more detailed. This is with the default pop equalizer out of the box tune, listening to some different genres. I've been listening to rock music as well and all sorts of stuff. Vocals I find to be excellent on them. And one good thing about the over-ear design is that you get an additional bit of privacy too as well. So maybe you're listening to a WhatsApp message. Well, you're not going to have that blasting out because you can have that all contained and no one's going to really hear it. Like open ears, you can sometimes hear that, but the open, or should I say the over-ear style here is going to cover that all up. And LDAC support, great to have at the price point. So looking at their website, it's about 65 euros. That's without the discounts at the moment, at the time of the video, which I think is fantastic to have LDAC support. LDAC is that high-end codec, and you're looking at about 990 kilobits per second transmission rate on this. It really hits the battery hard. So if you use ANC with these, then the LDAC codec, it's going to affect it quite a bit. You're looking at about half the battery runtime. If you have the ANC off, it'll go a bit longer, of course. Now, SBC, that's where you get the maximum runtime. That is a codec that's only around 320 kilobits per second, so it's nowhere near as high. And the LDAC codec is the one to use if you have really high quality original source files that you're playing. There's no point with low encoded MP3s. I wouldn't even bother because you're not going to hear that difference. So LDAC removes that compression, and sadly, Apple owners, you're only going to get AAC. The AAC codec is still very good. That's 512 kilobits per second. I still like that codec. It's way better than SBC at least. So fantastic sound, deep bass, no distortion. Volume can get loud, but not the loudest I have heard. Now watching an episode of Cobra Kai on Netflix here, streaming using Bluetooth. The latency is good. Using gaming mode, it is not an annoyance at all. It doesn't look to be lagging behind the actors with their voice note, not at all. So not going to have any issues with that. And with the gaming mode on, even when you are gaming with this, you might notice a fraction of a second sometimes, especially with games that you're firing or shooting where it's instantaneous. You may see some of the latency there come into play, but certainly with streaming content like now, I've found that the gaming mode has been absolutely perfect. And this is 0.065 seconds. There's a sample now of our noise cancelling microphones that we have with the Focus A6. I think they're pretty good. I do sound quite clear. I'm near a air conditioning unit that's pretty loud, and the fan is blowing, but it's removing most of that so I can be heard clearly. And of course, there is an app and application support. Now, the application you can see is very straightforward, easy to use, and it gives you everything just straight away there. You get all the information about the battery life. So as I mentioned, that it's up to that 75 hours, and the ANC is on at the moment. So you can go into the transparency mode, ANC off, wind noise reduction, or the wind resistant transparency. And you can get that just by tapping that ANC button too there as well. Your equalizer settings, so you can go through them: bass, super bass mode, custom 1 and 2, so you can make your own ones. In fact, there's 3 of them custom, and pop mode is the one by default. Find my headphones. Now, dual device connection, game mode, these can only be used when you are not using LDAC. Now, as soon as you go into LDAC mode, it will reconnect. That'll be enabled then, and you're going to get much better quality, especially if your source files are FLAC files or they are high bitrate MP3s. There's no point turning that on if they're only, say, 96 kilobits per second or 128, because you're really not going to get any benefit at all. Because what it does is, with LDAC, it's a better data rate, and it's going to remove that compression that you get with the SBC codecs and AAC. And it's only with Android. You can't get this with Apple, unfortunately. Movie sound effect, auto power off, and there are just a couple of other things under the setting here. So it's all pretty straightforward. This is the way I like it when it comes to apps, that it's clearly laid out, which it is, and you've got all those features right there.
The comfort of the Focus A6, I think, is excellent. Really nice, soft, cushy pads on the top, and especially the one here. The headband one can sometimes, with some different brands, for me, after wearing them for a couple of hours, result in a little bit of a pain at the top there in my head, and I feel like, oh, I need to take these off and give my head a bit of a break. Or what I would do is just move it about slightly. I find that that is not an issue with the Focus A6. The ear cups are also very comfortable, giving a great seal, so you get some passive noise isolation, and then the noise cancellation. I mean, it blocks out air conditioning units, ambient train station tracks I've been playing really loud, noisy office environments. You're going to really be able to cut that down, and better than in-ears, that I often do cover the active noise cancelling in-ear earbuds, and this, of course, style is so much better. The only downside is because of the complete seal there. you're not really getting any air. They're not breathable. They're all like this. And I do find that, yeah, after about an hour or so, that they're getting a bit hot, especially in summer. So I've got to give my ears a bit of a break. That's really the only thing there. Now, having the LDAC support at this price point is fantastic. Really good to have there. If you want more detail, the trade-off is, yes, you lose a bit of battery life. In fact, about half compared to SBC codec, and even over that. But it's worth it if you have really high quality files you're going to be playing. Some FLAC files, high encoded MP3s, then you're going to be able to enjoy that. You're going to remove that compression, get a lot more details in there. And I notice it more on the high end than you do with the lows. Bass out of these, as I talked about when I was explaining how they sound to me, very powerful, good bass. I wish the volume was a slight bit louder than what it really is. Now, I've noticed it varies from device to device, because with my Vivo, they're a little bit quieter, but when I did connect them up to an older Xiaomi phone, which was a Redmi K30 Pro Zoom, they did sound a bit louder there. I think manufacturers, they vary on the kind of volume you can put out. So it will be a little bit dependent on the device you're going to connect it to. But they do sound good. Mids are great. Highs, also no real complaints from me. I think for this price point, they are fantastic sounding. The ANC is really good. And the battery runtime, if you're going to be using SBC codecs, if your MP3 connection is only just 128 kilobytes per second, or even lower than that codecs, I wouldn't bother with using LDAC at all. Just go for that runtime. It's absolutely fantastic. So you can use these for weeks, really, without even having to charge them. So that is the OneOdio Focus A6 for the price. Some fantastic over-ear headphones.